Good morning and welcome to Going to Work with Gena, which is an infomercial for STEM students. I am Dr. Gena Henderson. STEM students, this morning we want to write a simple Python program, but I first want to begin by talking about determining conditions. Okay, so when you determine a condition, we talked about conditions last time when we talked about looping, but we really didn't go into any detail about conditions. And conditions really set the rules for everything that you want to actually be performed. So when you determine conditions, the first thing you want to do, you can either make a variable assignment, which is like saying A is equal to 3, B is equal to 4. Or you can state the data type, where you can say, okay, I want this number that I just declared to be an integer or a decimal. So, or you can ask the user to input from the keyboard. Okay, so that's exactly where we're going. We're going right to do all of these three instructions. So here I'm going to go in to Python real quick. Okay. And I'm gonna hit the open. I'm gonna open the file called element conditions, which is located in scripts. And so it states, when working with numbers, you must determine if you want to work with the integer or a decimal. To declare an integer, you make a variable assignment or state the data type. So for instance, score equals 61. That means you are assigning a value of 61 to score. Score 61 does not have a decimal after it, so therefore it is considered an integer. You want it to be an integer, so therefore you would tell it to type score, and it will state that score is an integer. Then you would ask to print the score. Okay, you could do the same thing for a decimal. You could declare score 1 to be equal to 61.37. Also, this is a decimal, so you will want to say type score 1 and it will print score 1 equal 61.37. Or you can actually ask the user to input a value. Please input your score value with at least 4 decimal places after 4 places after the decimal. And at this point you could tell it what to type it, and you would want it to be a float, and you would ask it to print it. Okay, at x.9164523 is the value that I will use for the input. Okay, so we want to go ahead and do some of those things and show you what actually occurs when we do it. So when we say score is equal to 61, and then when I say type score, it tells me that the class of score is an integer. So now I want it to print using a string. I asked it to print score. That's because that's the only way you'll know what the value of score is equal to, okay, if we were to run the program, okay? So we'll do the same thing for score equals 61.37. Okay, so this time, oops. Oh, okay. I see what the different problem is. I didn't put score 1 equals 61.37. Now I want to type score 1. This time it's going to tell me that's a float, and float means that it's an integer. Okay, so I wanted to let you see how that runs in a shell program, okay? Because remember, the shell program tells us what's wrong line for line. But I've also have a program that's called conditions. And so here we can run this program, and it will take us all the way up to this first print statement where it's actually requesting us, well, the first input statement where it's actually requesting us to put in a value. So let's run this program. Okay, so here we are. Score equals 61. Score 1 equals 61.37. And see, the only reason why we are able to know what the score values are here is because we ask it to print that print statement. So then the next statement, print statement says, please input the score value with at least 4 decimal places. Okay, and see how it ran the next few commands that I actually told it to do. So first of all, I asked it to print this value here, which it actually did. Then I told it to say that x is equal to that value. So here, if I say print x is equal to that value, let me see if I can take this over here so you can see it together. All right. So then I said, okay, so I told X to print this value that I had just input. Then I asked it to round it to the thousandths place. So that means three decimal places. So here you can see that it actually truncates it to 91.646. Then I ask it to print when X is rounded to 2 decimal places, the hundredths place, and it does it, 91.65. I ask score X to round it to the tenths place, and it does it, and it's 91.6. So what this value tells us here is that 5 does not round up. It actually has to be a 6 or better to actually round up to the next value, okay? So these are conditions, just some of the elementary conditions statements that you would have to encounter in order to understand what Python is doing when it comes to numbers and how you declare numbers in Python. So I want to thank you for going to work with Gena this morning. If there are any infomercials that you've missed, please don't hesitate to go to YouTube, Going to Work with Gena.